Welcome to From Betrayal to Breakthrough, and here is a mini dose of Dr. Debi where I'm sharing tips, suggestions, strategies, and sometimes just motivation to have you move past your betrayal once and for all. Hi there. So I noticed a theme in a lot of the conversations I was having last week, and I want to bring it up because I have a feeling it may be something that you're doing too, and if so, it's preventing you from being, doing, and having just about everything you want. I'm talking about the word resignation. There were so many people I was having conversations with that said things like, this is just the way it is. Nothing will ever change. I just have to accept it. People always do this or that. This is just the way it goes. And what happens is we have this brilliant mind and it always wants to prove you right. So if you believe this is the way it is, I just have to get used to it, nothing ever changes, or whatever else it is that you're saying, your mind's like, well, okay, well, if that's how you feel and that's what you believe, well, I'll go along with it. I had no idea how powerful the mind was until I caught myself red-handed. You may have heard me share this story before. It's worth repeating. I didn't realize that the mind was so powerful. And I remembered I was always doing a lot of traveling, and I was doing some traveling. I had my carry-on, and I would always get stopped. I mean, I would go through security. Sure enough, my carry-on would be pulled over and they would search through it. And then I would, they'd check, never found anything, but then I would be free to go. Happened every single time. So I would leave extra time to allow for this time that it would take to have my bag checked. I mean, it was just so a part of traveling. I just got so used to it. And I would just say to myself, I know I'm going to get stopped. So let me just give myself extra time or whatever. It had gotten so bad that I remember traveling one time with my husband, and we both had carry-on bags. His carry-on bag was smaller than mine. So right beforehand, he said, you know what, let's do this. Let's switch. I'll give you my smaller carry-on bag. So if the size is an issue or whatever, this way, you won't get stopped. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea because I always get stopped. But maybe this will help. I mean, I get stopped all the time. That's just the way it is. Well, I take his smaller carry-on. Now he has my bigger carry-on. I take his smaller carry-on, put it on the conveyor belt to go through security. And wouldn't you know, it got flagged and I got stopped again. So now I'm furious. Now I'm thinking, what the heck is happening here? And then I learned all about mindset and I realized, wait a second. I've been telling myself, and I have absolutely convinced myself that I will get stopped. So sure enough, my mind wanted to prove me right. And and I did, and I got stopped, and that's just the way it went. So I decided to do a little experiment. And I said, okay, there are so many other bigger thoughts and beliefs I need to work on. But what if I work on something like this, small, tangible, something that I can actually see, feel, and know the difference? So I decided to take on that challenge of rewiring my mindset as it related to getting stopped when I was going through security. So I worked on it and I decided to say things like, that was then, this is now, I don't get stopped anymore. I mean, I came up with all these things and I really, really worked on it, not just while I was waiting to go through security, but in between, whenever I thought of it. And this probably went on for a couple of weeks. Then it was time for my next flight. And I said, okay, now here we go. That old me just doesn't exist anymore. The version of me that would get stopped all the time. This version of me just breezes right through. Everything is simple and easy, and I just don't get stopped. So I go up to take my bag, I put it on the conveyor belt, and I practiced this so much that I truly believed that old version of me is gone. And this version of me just doesn't get stopped. And I wasn't even nervous because I practiced it enough to believe that it was true. So I put my bag up, it starts moving, and I just go through. And that was it. And I like silently high-fived myself. But the part of this that's so important to realize is our minds control everything. If you want to know what you believe, take a look at your life right now. Your life is an expression of the beliefs you hold. Now, I'm not saying that you're listening to this and you're getting angry at me. You see, you're thinking, well, is she saying that I caused my betrayal? And no, I'm not. But what I'm suggesting is the beliefs that you have because of it. Maybe you believe I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I deserved it, I'm not good enough, thin enough, pretty enough, rich enough, happy enough, whatever it is. Your beliefs are dictating your life. So the best part about after the crash and burn of the shattering of trust and betrayal is that you get to deliberately and intentionally create a version of you that didn't exist before. So what if you looked at every single thing you said, every single thought you had, every belief you hold, and you questioned all of it? And just because something was a belief at one time, maybe it truly doesn't serve you anymore. So what if you believed this always happens to me? And you stopped and you questioned that. What does that really hold true? Is that a belief I want to keep with me as I move forward? And if not, you change it. Or something like everyone in my family, has a bad temper, or every experience always ends up this way, or whatever it is. We can't change what we're unaware of, but what would happen if you questioned everything? And here's the thing, you're going to catch like a fraction of these beliefs, but that's okay, because at least you're working with some of them. And every time something comes up, you want to ask yourself, is this true? Do I still need to believe this? And because here's the truth, maybe at some point that belief served you, but that doesn't mean it still does. That doesn't mean you haven't outgrown it. It's time to take a look at all the beliefs you have. And remember, all a belief is the repetition of an idea from someone you trust. Period. Someone said something enough to you, someone said something enough times to you, and it became your belief. Doesn't make it good or bad, doesn't make it right or wrong, doesn't make it true, but it makes it yours. And what happens is usually we have a set of beliefs that's been handed down to us, and we don't question them. We take them on, and we just live out those beliefs. But I want you to intentionally take a look at each and every one. Now, here's something super practical to just help you do this. Take a rubber band or a hair tie and put it on your wrist. And every time you say something, you snap the band. And when you say a belief, you snap the band. It's not to hurt you, it's to remind you of questioning. Is this really true? Does this still hold up? Is this still a belief of mine? Are there any holes in this? Can it be dismantled? Because here's the thing, we confuse beliefs with facts. A fact is something that cannot be disputed. A belief can be. For example, gravity. You throw something up, it's coming down, right? You can try to disprove it, but that's what you're going to find, right? But with a belief, it can be dismantled as you outgrow it, as you start to question it. So, two things I would love you to do. When a belief comes up, question it. Does this still serve? Does this still make sense? And if you think, oh, yes, this is just the way it is, compare it to a fact. Is this true? Can it be dismantled? Can it be questioned? And I'm sure you'll find so many things you've been treating as a fact is a belief. And just because it worked for you at one time, or it served at one time, or it was just there and you didn't even notice, doesn't mean it has to stay. It may have, it had its time, and it's time to change it for something else. When you're moving through your betrayal, your shattered trust, and your healing and rebuilding, when I just spoke, we have our, we call them coffee chats in the community that's in the PBT Institute. That's where members have open Q&A with me. And then I also have a group call with our Transform members. Those are members who get everything within PBT, but they also work with me personally. And we really talked about this, talking about all of these beliefs that we have and how we get to change them. And someone was saying that it's really exhausting work. And it is, because you're looking at things that you haven't looked at in a really long time, maybe ever. And I brought up, where you've heard me say this so many times, the saying that really holds true for just about any topic: hard now, easy later. Easy now, hard later. Take your pick. It's going to be one of those two. And this is really all about when you're truly healing and transforming after betrayal. It is hard now for that easy later. The hard now is taking a look at everything and addressing and assessing, does this work for me? Does this make sense? Do I want to take this with me as I create this 2.0 version of me? And if not, let it go. If you love it, you bring it with you. So it is exhausting work, but think about it. You're creating this 2.0 version of you that wasn't built yet. So every belief of like, this will never change, something as simple as that. When you say something like that, question it. Is that really true? And if it's not, what could be something you say that's more supportive? And if you're not sure, if someone else that you cared about said the same thing, what would you say to them? Because sometimes a way out of this is that when you look and you say, oh my gosh, if I spoke to other people the way I spoke to myself, I wouldn't have a friend. I wouldn't have, anybody wanting to be anywhere near me with the way I speak. So if you're unsure about a belief, if someone else said the same thing to you, what would you say? Like if someone said, I can never change that, or this'll never work, or that can never happen, right? What would you say? What would you offer? What would you share? That's what happens. There are so many things we automatically believe, and then the mind's like, okay, that's the way it goes. And here's another, I'm always big on the analogies and the metaphors. Here's another one. I want you to picture a garden. Imagine you have the intention of growing the most beautiful garden filled with the most incredible fruits and vegetables and flowers and plants, and it's magnificent. Well, part of any garden, you're going to have weeds. That's just the way it goes. The weeds are going to start to show up. Now, resignation is like this. Resignation is that giving up, that giving in. So it would be the same thing as if here you have the opportunity to grow this amazing garden. You see the weeds, and then you decide, well, I guess it's just the way it is. The weeds are going to come, and I better get used to it. It's just part of it. So instead of pulling the weeds so that you can grow this beautiful garden, you just are resigned to, well, this is what happens and this is what weeds do, so may as well just go along with it. And now the weeds start growing and growing and growing. They take over your garden and ruin the whole thing. Instead of these things that come up, which would be the negative thoughts and beliefs, and then you deal with them and you manage them at the root, right? That would be the same thing as pulling up the weed as it shows up. Here's the thing: what you feed grows. And so often we're feeding the weeds. We're going along with it. We're resigned. This is the way it is. I better get used to it. Instead of saying, that's a weed. It's going to show up. But the resilience comes in with how I pull those weeds and how effectively I can handle the weeds without letting it destroy my entire garden. So much to say, all this to say, if you're walking around resigned, how could you be just even a notch of a closer to a better way to think and feel? Even a little bit closer, because here's the thing too: every single thought, behavior, action, habit you have can only take you one of two ways: further or closer to the health, the life, the relationships, the work, the success, the everything that you want. So every time a thought comes up, every time a belief comes up, is it taking you further or closer to every single thing that you want? If you did no more than address that and make a decision that I'm going to kind of be aware of and then limit some of those thoughts that pull me further away, And then you take it to the next level and say, I'm going to really take note of the beliefs I have. And if they're not supportive, I'm going to make a decision to let them go. And if you look at it like these weeds are in my garden here, and they have the potential to completely destroy everything. Do I just want to be resigned? Well, this is what weeds do, and I just have to get used to it. Or do you pull the weeds and then congratulate yourself and recognize the job well done and what the work you've had to do to maintain this beautiful garden? This is not easy work. It is, as I say to everybody within the PBT Institute, when it comes to healing, this is probably the hardest and the most transformative work you'll ever do. But look what's on the end of it. A new 2.0 version of you. So it's time to start pulling those weeds to create the beautiful garden, which is you. Just because a belief is there doesn't mean you have to believe it. Do a little test like what I did with the suitcase, right? Just you have a belief, you realize, just like mine, this is what's always going to happen. It's just the way it is. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, I'm at the root of that. I'm the one creating that, which means I'm the only one that can change it. So lots we can change when it comes to mindset. That has so much to do with your healing. Remember, we can't undo what happened, but we control what we do with it. And when it comes to moving through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough, which I talk about all the time, one of the things that move us out of stage 3 into stage 4, lots of stuff we have to do. But one of the greatest things is realizing that healing is entirely up to us. It's a great needle mover, taking us out of the pain of stage 3 into stage 4, where healing and transformation begins. So I hope this helps. Check your mindset, see what thoughts you're thinking, that stinking thinking. And if we can help you within PBT, that's all we do all day long. I'll see you next time. You need the right tools, support, and the right community to move through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. And we have all that within the PBT Institute. So join us at the PBT, as in post-betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com. There's a version of you who's so confident, healthy, peaceful, and happy on the other end of your healing. And we can't wait to help you get there. We got you. Thanks for listening. And here's to your breakthrough.